Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to another beautiful gameplay by the most powerful chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17. Today we see the fish battling it out against another top engine akimbo with the black pieces in a beautiful King's Indian defense, but this King Indian defense will be a little bit different. We'll see actually similar structures of the Catalan opening from black's perspective. Here Stockfish will place in sort of a accepted Catalan opening where Stockfish will allow here its opponent akimbo to have a powerful central control, will get the pawn, but will try then to defend his position. So first of all, we'll see a great defensive game by Stockfish 17 and then a powerful attack on the king side with the black pieces. So let's dive now into the game. Let's see now what happened with the white pieces. Here akimbo opened with the move d4, g6 here by the fish, c4, knight to f6, and after move g3 we have now the King's Indian defense, the Fianchetto variation, the immediate Fianchetto here by white. We have now the move c6. You see it becomes more of a Slavic structure now that Stockfish is trying to do with the move d5, going into the structures of the Slav defense, semi-Slav defense. So with the advanced pawn on d5, we have now bishop to g2, now comes d5, and now after move e3, Stockfish takes out now immediately the pawn on c4. So we have now, I would say, a similar position like in the open Catalan, where black is taking a pawn, allows here white to advance maybe the pawn to e4, then of course to get the powerful center. So white's compensation for the lost pawn in the beginning is this pawn mobility in the center of the board. Here akimbo continues with knight to e2, knight to d5 by the fish, connecting now everything here in the center of the board, keeping everything glued together, locking out also now here the long diagonal for the light square bishop, and keep maybe here some options with knight to b6 to protect the extra pawn on c4. Castling by akimbo, Stockfish of course develops, and now after queen to c2 the fish plays now the move b5, like in the common Catalan structures, simply connecting everything and hoping to somehow defend the position in the center of the board. We have now the move a4, also a standard idea of the Catalan opening, trying of course to somehow dismantle, to disconnect these pawns, creating more weaknesses, trying to get the pawn back finally here on the queen side. We have now knight to a6, good move by the fish, now bishop to d2, and now finally castling a takes b5, c takes b5, and now b3. Also I would say a pretty standard idea here by white in this Catalan structures that white created in the beginning of the opening. And now after move b3, now I think the real tactical battle begins. Stockfish plays now first of all a beautiful counter attack with bishop to f5. This is the way to go, and it seems risky because many of us I think would expect this move e4 and wouldn't even play the move bishop to f5, but Stockfish calculated everything in a good way. Akimbo didn't play that, but I wanted to show really what would have happened after potential e4 move. Then knight to b4, first of all counter attack, and then if white steps back, then you have immediately bishop to g4 after something like e5, maybe attacking the rook. The cool part is that you don't have to even react here. I'm not sure if ever in this Catalan opening, in this King's Indian attacks, in this King's Indian formations, white will give up its light square bishop, because the light square bishop of white is of course the most powerful piece on the board. For instance, in the continuation after something like c takes b3, if for bishop to a8 happens, queen to a8, I'm not sure how many of us would love to play now this game with the white pieces. Look at this, black has now three pass pawns here marching on this side of the board. The knights are very active, bishop is very well placed. There are always even this checkmate threats with, I don't know, bishop to h3, bishop to f3, always creating some damage here. So not a good continuation of course here for white. So even after instead of this move bishop to a8, for instance, you try h3 to somehow kick away the bishop, then we can play bishop to e6 and again control the d5 square. And again, I'm not sure if white will give up now again the bishop for rook here on a8. So e4, that's the issue, is not working here for white. So that's why akimbo tried queen to d1, and now Stockfish creates again a beautiful counter attack with knight to b4, hopes to get the knight here or maybe even on the beautiful powerful d3 square. We have now the move b takes c4, we have now b takes c4, and now knight to f4 here by akimbo, trying somehow to keep everything connected to this d3 square, where of course it's the main weakness now in white camp. Stockfish continues now with rook to b8, and now bishop to c3. Here e4 again is not a good option. for akimbo. Maybe you're asking yourself the question, why white didn't play now aggressively in the center. Then this pawn on d4 is hanging. Then after something like bishop to c3 and a couple of trades of queens, we can still attack this one. And now there's even this possibility. White doesn't have to even pardon me, black doesn't have to even trade off the here the pieces. He can of course go into this line with rook to d8, and then after something like this, you're getting destroyed simply on the first rank by the rook's activity. So the issue in any of these lines is that actually white has not developed this knight on b1. That's the issue. The white is simply stuck here, so white had a tough time to develop this piece somewhere to activate it in the game. So that's why bishop to c3, clearing also the square for the knight, maybe to d2, and then finally attacking this weak pawn on c4. Stockfish continues now with queen to c8, connects now the queen to the pawn, and also threatens in some lines maybe to play bishop to h3, forcing trades of light square bishop, and then creating of course some light square problems in white's camp. So here queen to a4 by akimbo, trying to put more pressure against this knight and also somehow against this knight on b4. Stockfish continues now with g5. Great move, because after knight to d5, Stockfish plays now beautiful knight takes d5. Okay, Stockfish took now the knight, and you see the knight is now finally disconnected from the defense of this knight on a6, but now Stockfish again finds a beautiful counterattack with bishop to d3. Great calculations here by the fish, because actually black doesn't have to worry about this knight on a6. Even if that happens, we'll simply trade off the queens here, and then after bishop to f1, king to f1, as we said, the knight on b1 is not developed. It's always there. It's always a tactical and positional problems in white position. So in this scenario, rook to b1, king to e2, for instance e6, bishop to c4, rook to c8, and game over, I would say, here for white. So this is not working. Bishop to d3, great counter attack here by the fish. That's why rook to c1. Now rook to d8 again. Here we have again a new counter attack against this bishop. Bishop to c6, and now rook to d6, attacking now this bishop, and then also connecting the rook further to the knight on a6. We have now bishop to g2. Even if you try, I don't know, queen to a6, then we simply pick up this one. After a couple of trades of queens, you cannot pick up the pawn on a7. That's the issue, because then the knight again on b1 is loose. So again, it's not working. So that's why bishop to g2 instead of queen takes a6 here by akimbo. And now Stockfish continues with a beautiful knight to c7. That's a beautiful move, because this move is not allowing here actually this move to happen. Queen to a7, then knight to b5, the fork against the bishop and the queen. And now in a potential line, maybe after queen to c5, this one is simply, I think devastating here for white, because for instance, you try queen to c8, rook to c8, you can pick up this one, but now knight takes c3 is actually even, I would say, winning the game here for black, because if you try here e takes d6, then look at this, knight to e2 opens up now the diagonal. You pick up this one, or maybe in a different line here after knight to c3, you could maybe try knight takes c3, but then after bishop to e5 here, I think black should be much better with the bishop pair in an open battle with the pass pawn here on the c file. I would say in top AI level, of course, this is game over here for white. So that's why after knight to c7, akimbo tried finally to get the knight into the game with knight to d2, and now rook to a6. Stockfish now locks the a file, is forcing, of course, a couple of trades. And now from this point on, I think the game becomes simply a one-way ticket, but in black's favor. Bishop to a5, we have now queen to f5, putting more pressure against this bishop on a5, and also putting more pressure on light square problems here that Stockfish is creating. Finally, we have now knight takes c4. Akimbo finally gets the pawn back, but now Stockfish can activate further the pieces. It was a tough battle. It was a tough battle simply for the c4 square. The material is equal, but I think we can agree that black is such a beautiful activity. The bishop is locked here, cannot move, of course, because of the rook activity. Many light square problems. Stockfish can, of course, include many attackers into the game. Really messed up position here for akimbo. So here knight to d2 again by akimbo. We have now rook to b5, again a new beautiful attack against this bishop, and now e4 counter attack here by akimbo, attacking the queen. And here black should not go into this line with rook to a5. Seems tempting, but then in a potential line like this, black would actually white would actually win the exchange, And I think this is then completely game over here for black. So that's why from move e4, Stockfish plays now the correct move, queen to g4, and now after bishop to f3, queen to h3, now comes the most critical moment, I think, of the game. Here akimbo makes a huge mistake, but I think even these other solutions are simply not so good for white. For instance, the suggested move by the top engine Stockfish 17 here is to play the move bishop to g2, but actually it's not working because black will simply continue the pressure on the h file, and even if you try on knight to b3 to activate your pieces, then this one is the problem. That's the issue. g4, knight to g5, knight to f3, maybe in some lines even to get the rook behind here on h6, so too much pressure. White could maybe fight with this line, queen to a3, maybe to get the pawn here, but then bishop to e2 with the threat of bishop to f3, and you can allow yourself here even some checks by white. But even after a couple of trades of pieces here, I wanted to show you if even white manages to simplify the game somehow in any potential line, there's always also the tactical problem. Now the dashboard bishop of blacks is coming into the game, and now maybe knight takes a6, bishop takes a1, but with upper pawn, this is again a completely winning position here for Stockfish 17. So that's why even in this line, as I said, the best move is probably here bishop to g2, but black keeps the activity. But akimbo made I think even a worst mistake with queen to d1, which allows now Stockfish a beautiful tactic. Maybe if you want to practice some tactics, pause the video and try to see now here the winning idea for black. Black moves and wins the game. So what would you do now in this particular position? Okay, here Stockfish played the amazing knight to f4. This is the way to go. The threat is of course to deliver even some checkmates here on g2, and of course liberating now here this 6th rank in order to include the rook into the h file attack, and then maybe deliver checkmate also on h2. So there's simply too much pressure, and akimbo accepted the challenge, played now g takes f4, but now look at this, rook to h6, knight to f1, bishop takes f1. You cannot take, of course, queen takes f1 because of queen takes h2 checkmate. Here after move bishop to f1, akimbo played bishop to c7, but now a beautiful move e5. Stockfish is not allowing akimbo here to defend this position around the square h2. That's why e5, brilliant stuff. We have now d takes e5, liberating now the d file. Seems also dangerous here for Stockfish, but now g takes f4, nothing dramatic can happen. Stockfish still can cover, and now akimbo try to make something by putting more pieces here in between, but actually these moves are just prolonged the game here for white. Completely winning position here for Stockfish. After a couple more moves, Stockfish took now the queen, played f3, and delivered checkmate on g2. So great attack by the fish against here the king's Indian attack, Catalan ideas that we have seen. I think we have seen most important ideas of the Catalan opening, although the game started as the king's Indian defense, the Fianchetto Variation. But you see sometimes in these openings you get similar ideas, similar structures, similar positional and tactical problems. Stockfish demolished here akimbo with really brilliant active play. I hope you could have found for yourself maybe some tactical ideas when you play with the black pieces in the open Catalan. In my opinion, great game here by the strongest chess engine in the world, by Stockfish 17. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas here by black for sure. If you want to see some other powerful chess games like this, check out our commented chess games played by computers. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.